On today's episode of the DeRaud-Messinger Show, we're previewing and predicting Texas Tech versus number 7 Texas. Longhorns fans, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated. And check our content out at HornSports.com where we got all things Longhorns, basketball, volleyball, you name it, we got it. Now, Dylan, to begin, of course, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed your turkey. We got some Black Friday action today in Austin. Please show up on Friday, not Saturday. You'll be awfully disappointed.
Mm.
The game is at 6:30 p.m. Central Time at Darrell Royal Texas Memorial Stadium in Austin, Texas. The game is televised on ABC. I'm wondering who's calling that one, Dylan. That's off topic, but Texas is favored by 13 points. Of course, the line can move, but most recently 13 points. Now, Dylan, what do you think about this Texas Tech offense?
Yeah, there's a lot left to be discovered for this offense. My brother happens to go to Texas Tech, Devon. I asked him who Texas should be looking out for on this team. Really didn't give me anybody other than their running back, of course, Taj Brooks. He's been much watched this season, especially with having his 250 carries. He's been a high volume running back with 1,300 yards and 52 yards on top of that, and then 5.4 yards per carry and 9 touchdowns. So he's 11th in the Big 12 in yards per carry. But again, number 2 in rush yards in the Big 12 behind Ali Gordon. So he's been very good running the ball. That's been Texas Tech's identity this season. But just team wise, they're hovering around number 9, number 10 when it comes to just passing yards, points per game in the Big 12. Baron Morton is back, Devin, their sophomore QB. Over this winning streak of 3 games in which they've beaten TCU, Kansas, and UCF, he's been averaging about 238 yards passing, 71 completion percentage, and 7.37 uh, yards per play passing the ball. So he's been good. He hasn't been obviously holding them back in any regard. They've won these 3 games with him returning after that Kansas State game. But just when it comes to the receiving corps, Devin, they got senior wide receiver Miles Price, who stands about 5'10". He leads the team in number of receptions and reception touchdowns, but he only has 410 yards on the season with 43 receptions. And then you got Jerand Bradley, their sophomore receiver. He stands at 6'5", 220, so he's obviously a big threat. But over these past few games, he's only had like two receptions to 3 receptions. And then you've got senior wide receiver Xavier White, who leads the team in reception yards. He's more of their big play threat. He's only got 31 receptions and a touchdown. But again, he leads the team with 470 yards receiving. And then you've got Devin, your guy, or future guy, junior tight end Mason Tharp. He stands at 6'9", 270.
You say
He only has
six
14
nine.
receptions.
Oklahoma's
Yeah,
entered the
yeah.
transfer portal.
That is a big boy. So watch out for him. I'm sure they're going to want to deploy him in the red zone more than they have in the past. And then when you look at their offensive line, Devin, they're allowing 21 sacks on the season. They're tied for 61st nationally. And also, they're tied, or no, they're number 2 in penalty yards this season with 54.5. So been a rough point for them, especially getting, gaps for Taj Brooks. That's why he's been such a high volume, runner with the amount of carries he's getting. So with this Tech team, it's going to be on Texas to really stop down that running game and force Morton to have to throw more.
And on defense, Dylan, this team isn't too flashy, as your brother was alluding to. There's nothing really to point out specifically. I mean, just overall rankings-wise, to give people a picture, Tech is 71st in total defense, which is pretty much middle of the pack, Dylan. 68th in passing defense, 72nd in rushing defense, and then getting to the quarterback, sacks, tied for 98th. So they have not had too much success there. They are in the plus side, Dylan, in terms of my safeties leading in tackles theory because they do not have that. The leading tackler for this Red Raiders team is redshirt freshman. I mean, give it up. How many times do you see redshirt freshman leading a team in tackles? Ben Roberts at the linebacker position. Along with him, you got Josiah Pierre, who has an additional 53. And then on defensive line, you got Jalen Hutchings, and he's the leader of the team with 3.5 sacks. So Dylan, I mean, they have a couple of guys with about 2 to 3.5 sacks, but nothing crazy in terms of that guy you need to pencil in as getting to the quarterback, J.J. Watt-esque. And you were talking about Miles Price, I believe, on the offense. Off the edge for the Raiders, you have Miles Cole. So not quite the same person.
Ooh.
Don't be confused when you're watching the game, people. I know it can be confusing. He has 3.5 sacks as well. And then the other guys to watch up front, Tony Bradford Jr., along with Steve Linton, Both those guys have 3 sacks. Now in the secondary, you have senior defensive back Dadrian Taylor Demerson, which is an all-star name. And this all-star player has 4 interceptions this year. And then senior defensive back Malik Dunlap adds another 3 interceptions. So yet again, the overall team stats don't stand out, in any way, shape, or form. However, they do have some talent. But Dylan, the talent hasn't come together this year for Texas Tech. However, as we're going to allude to, this is a big game for them, of course. And whatever they did in the past, I don't expect it in the future in this game against Texas. But Dylan, who are your X factors?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and it's kind of obvious, but Texas is number 1 in the Big 12, Devon, in rush yards allowed with 82.7. The big portion of that, Iowa State had 21 carries for only 9 yards against Texas last week in Ames. So they're coming together really well in that front seven. You've seen it with just the way Jalen Ford and freshman Devin Anthony Hill, who's really coming to his own. He was all over the place, them two, especially with Devondre Sweat just holding up the middle, right? So these guys have been honestly the identity of this defense for Texas, and it starts with that front seven. And I'm bringing this up because they're going up against Taj Brooks, who's one of the best runners in the Big 12, if not nationally right now with the way that he's playing. So it's going to be on them to keep that constant here, right? So they need to, holding Brooks under 100 yards rushing is going to be a big win for Texas because that's going to force, like I talked about earlier, Morton have to throw the ball, make a little bit more, mistakes, and really take away what they want to do offensively and force them to do things that they really haven't really wanted to do all season, right? And again, there's not really a run. There's not like a committee here. Brooks is like the main guy running the ball. I believe their second leading rusher, Devon, was Tyler Shook, who is just now transferring. So they're losing that, and he was the quarterback, obviously, for a few games. So it's going to be all on Brooks in this one. So if Texas can take that away, I'm not going to say smooth sailing, but it makes it a lot less tougher against this Texas Tech team.
Dylan, I'm going to go deep into my bag of tricks here, and I'm going to pull out the quarterback. Just kidding, because that would be something you'd expect, Dylan. I'm going to trick you here. I'm going Steve Sarkisian. Oh, head coach for the X Factor. I think in this game, his aggression is really the key. He was in his own bag against Iowa State on some of those play calls, I must say. The 2 touchdown passes were things of beauty. They weren't trick plays per se, but they had a little bit of a tricky element to them, and it ended up in big scores for Texas. In this one, the Longhorns have plenty of bulletin board material. I don't have to say that. I mean, Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, looks like he's going to be there in attendance. Joey McGuire, of course, has said many things that are exciting to his program but have not paid off since he said them. Texas fans, you know what I'm talking about. But Sarkisian, he's not only is he going to have to be aggressive for winning the game, of course, that's the most important thing, but of course bigger picture things too as well if you're picking up on what I'm saying. But he's also going to have to balance a lot of injuries. This team should be healthy in quotes starting on Friday. However, there are many guys that are banged up. He's going to have to be able to shuffle those guys in and out in a appropriate manner while still keeping his foot on the gas pedal. Now, Dylan, we're getting to the fun part, danger level. What do you got?
Yeah, so I've got to add a 4. We talked about this when we were going into the season. We thought the 2 losses for Texas, or interchangeable, if they were going to lose one, they were going to win the other, was Alabama and Oklahoma. It's gone kind of what we talked about, right? But the biggest thing is this next step for the progression for Texas is that 10-win mark. They've reached it, right? But they're basically skipping a level if they're getting into this, Big 12 discussion, or not even that, but just this college football playoff discussion that we're talking about. So there's a lot more stakes on this game, obviously, with just what's going to be playing out. Now, Texas is playing a team that has nothing to lose. That's pretty scary because they're going to be able to empty out the entire playbook. This is their Super Bowl in the sense of they are already bowl eligible. So it's not like there's not going to be much conservative play calling here because even if they lose, they're still going to a bowl game. So it's really just a win-win in this sense to play their hearts out in this case, Devin. And obviously Texas Tech has a win condition with Taj Brooks. If they can run the ball well, that other teams haven't been able to do against Texas, but if they can do that or just mix in some trick plays, win the turnover battle, they've got a good shot. But again, I got this danger level at a 4 because I know it sounds like I'm hyping this game up. Texas just better throughout the entire way, just talent-wise, defensively and offensively. So it's gonna take Texas taking a lot of plays off, not taking this team seriously for Tech really to hit them in the face early and have a big lead to start out, right, and have Texas have to play their way back into it, which in that case obviously makes it a little bit more difficult. But if anything, like you talk about, if Sark is in his bag, but also motivation speech wise, they lost to Texas Tech last year. This should be fresh in their minds to come out and beat the brakes off this team. So that's why I got this game at a danger level 4.
Yeah, I have it at 5, and that's pretty much just because Dylan, like we said, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, blah blah blah. Because this has been going on every single game. It's a 5 because Texas, they are expected to win big, and then every week comes down to the fourth quarter. So, as Dylan had mentioned, Texas has reasons to be motivated, such as last year's loss to this Texas Tech team. But then Texas Tech, of course. I mean, those people make a living on hating Texas, Dylan. It's going to be a big contest, especially with the Big 12 final matchup coming up right here in the regular season. Of course, if Texas wins, they'll get a shot at the Big 12 championship the week following. However, you got a decent quarterback for Tech. You got a decent running back, as Dylan was mentioning in the scouting report earlier, and they're able to spread the ball around. It's just going to be, honestly, how hot are they on offense? And Dylan, is Texas back to their, just keeping it close ways? We'll have to see. Now, Dylan, prediction, who do you have?
Yeah, I've got Texas winning this game 31-14. I know we talk about how they keep letting teams in they shouldn't back into games like TCU, right, like Kansas State, but those are games that in the past Texas would have lost. This is not the same old Texas team that we've been talking about, that we've been hinting at in the past years, right? Even if Texas Tech is able to make a comeback, Texas is shown to be able to make the final few plays that matter to end up winning this game. I just think with how CJ Baxter is playing in the absence of Jonathan Brooks, you're able to trust what he's been able to do, right? Especially just as a freshman running back. So that helps with the pick here, and I think Texas is going to be able to kind of have those big plays offensively with Ewers in the receiving core, but also be able to lean in on that running game and just be able to extend this lead while obviously Texas Tech at the beginning is going to try to get Brooks involved or take some deep shots, and if Texas can hold off in that second quarter and just get ahead, I think they're going to be in a great spot.
I have Texas winning 34-24. I have it being a little bit closer, but yet again, when I pick close, it ends up being bigger, and when I pick big, it ends up being close, Dylan. I mean,
Oof.
we saw a lot of blue in the stadium for the BYU game in Austin. There's going to be a lot of red in the stadium. Those Texas Tech fans will show up in Austin. It's a habit of them, and it's going to be loud if things don't go the Longhorns' way, Dylan. Don't be surprised to see some away team momentum, at least the potential of it. But as Dylan was mentioning, CJ Baxter has been looking very sharp at running back. Quarterback Quinn Ewers quietly, I pause on that, quietly had a pretty dang good game last weekend. I mean, you look at the final stat sheet and you're like, wow, like I think he threw for about 283 yards and I believe 2 touchdowns.
He's game managing very well, is what
He,
I've noticed. He's doing what he needs to do. He's not trying to take those errant throws, do
exactly.
too much, and is actually the
He's
big
not
criticism that we
beating
had. He's
themselves
toned
up.
that down.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
making the smart play. You can't always, beat a team on every play. Sometimes it's best to. He took a couple sacks, didn't he? I don't know, but sometimes to not make, as Dylan said, the dumb throws. He's been very good at that, showing improvement, and it's a shame he missed some time earlier in the season because his name would be a little bit higher up in these Big 12 quarterback standings, college football standings. But yes, I think Quinn's been sharp as well. I do have trust in him. It's not even a player thing at this point, Dylan. It's a Texas Tech thing. I'm having PTSD. I do think Texas wins here, but I guess we'll see by how much in the end. But more importantly than our picks, what is your pick? Let us know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check us out at HornSports.com. And as always, have a great rest of your day.